Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at Progressive.com. The call, courtesy of the Lakers Radio Network, ESPN 710 in LA. John Ireland, Michael Thompson with the call. Lakers down 3-1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shedeur Sanders is a member of the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to go all over the place here. There's so much. Dame Lillard, terrible injury. God, he doesn't deserve. Nobody deserves this, but Dame really doesn't deserve this. The Knicks with a great win yesterday. Other quarterbacks in other spots, Tyler Shuck in New Orleans, Quinn Ewers in Miami, Will Howard in Pittsburgh. Rodgers doesn't have a team. Cousins is still on the Falcons. She is Michelle Smallman. He is Chris Canty. I am Evan Cohen. Good morning, everybody.
Man, we got a lot to get to, man.
Oh, my God. I'm already sweating.
Can I just say this? I knew this was going to happen over the weekend to my Lakers. I called it on Friday. I said that we were going to lose over the weekend. Now, I made it a Canty can't lose.
Right.
So we were able to get the win as far as ESPN bet goes on Friday night's Game 3.
Let's go.
Because I picked the Minnesota Timberwolves on the money line, being able to win that rubber match. They did. I did not expect for the Los Angeles Lakers to give up the ghost in the fourth quarter of yesterday's game. That was an absolute embarrassment, Smalls.
What did you think of your coach playing the same guys? What did you think of him not making adjustments? Because Ant said that they were gassed because they were on the floor for so long.
He did say they were gassed, and they were absolutely gassed. LeBron missing layups, him and Luka having turnovers. They were gassed. They were tired. And newsflash, J.J. Redick, you can't play LeBron James at 40 years old the same amount of minutes in the second half that Anthony Edwards plays, who's 23 years old.
Correct.
Slight difference. One guy is 2 decades older. It just ain't going to work out for you. But as a Lakers fan, I just sit here and think about the conversations that people had, including J.J. Redick, about Darvin Ham this time last year. And what were the criticisms about Darvin Ham, Evan? It was, oh, he doesn't know how to use timeouts. Oh, his substitution patterns suck. Well, it didn't look great for J.J. Redick yesterday when it comes to timeouts and substitution patterns.
I may get my head ripped off here. I got no issue with what J.J. did. He played the entire second half. He played the best players the most amount of minutes, including LeBron James. And I know LeBron didn't score in the fourth quarter in terms of a field goal. LeBron was awesome on defense, I thought, in the fourth quarter.
He was all over the place.
This was such an interesting game, back and forth. Lakers had a lead. T-Wolves obviously win this game 116-113, excuse me. They're up 3-1 in this series. Ant hit so many big shots late. Julius Randle, I was over the top impressed with his defense in this game. That Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns trade worked out so well for both teams yesterday. Cat hit such big shots for the Knicks, and Randle was so great, I thought, for the T-Wolves. But let me ask you a question. Hypothetically, if the Lakers played the exact same 5 in the second half, that's Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Luka, and Austin Reeves. None of them sat out for 1 second in the second half, and they won. Would we be saying that JJ's a genius today?
No.
I don't think so.
It's still the wrong move.
Because
it's still the wrong move.
Even though you're right, I was so impressed with LeBron down the stretch there.
Defensively,
and he talked about how he got the looks. He just wasn't able to finish.
100%.
You know, he was able to generate. I still wonder how fresh they could have been had he made some adjustments and done something a little different. Even in a win, I would say, to your point, LeBron James at this stage in his career, why are we relying on him to have this many minutes? Why aren't we finessing that in a different way?
Well, I mean, here's the reality of it. Luka Doncic and LeBron James played more minutes than Anthony Edwards. What world does that make sense? It doesn't. Now, I get it. Ant-Man supporting cast is leaps and bounds better than what the Lakers are bringing to the party. But at some point, if you're J.J. Redick, you got to stagger your minutes between your two superstars because you do need to have at least one of those guys on the court at all times in order to facilitate the production of the others. And J.J. didn't do that. He didn't do it in Game 4, but he also didn't do it in Game 3. And when you continue to play those guys extended minutes, significantly more minutes than Anthony Edwards is playing over the last couple of games, you get to the point of diminishing returns. And that's where the Lakers are at. In the fourth quarter of Games 3 and 4, the Lakers are outscored 62-39. They had a 12-point lead in the third quarter, and they gave up the ghost. And think about this, Smalls. You got 38 from Luka last night, 27 from LeBron. You got 38 from Bron in Game 3, which was a masterpiece, and you lost both those games. You lost both of them. So even when those guys are uber productive in terms of scoring the basketball themselves, it's still not resulting in wins. So I don't understand why keeping those guys on the court and playing all of those minutes when you see the results being obvious is the solve for how your team is going to be able to get back in this series.
JJ Redick addressed that question yesterday post-game as to if he had planned to play the same guys for the entirety of the second half.
No, it wasn't planned, but we just made the decision at halftime.
Were you concerned at all at a I know you said you checked in with the guys at the start of the fourth quarter about trying to find a minute or two there. You know, Ron has obviously played a ton of basketball in his life, and is there any second guessing for you on that decision?
Not on that one. I think once you've kind of made that decision, you know, and they all are in, you just got to trust them.
So there's JJ. The question, though, that I'm wondering, did he believe the season was on the line last night, and that's why he did it? In other words, does he not believe his team can come back from 3-1 down, and thus wanted to do everything in his power to prevent going down 3-1?
Yeah, you can think the season is on the line, but you still got to find spots in the game to get those guys some rest, whether it's at the end of the third quarter, whether it's in the middle of the third quarter. I don't know when that moment is, but you got to find a spot to get LeBron and Luka a blow. And the fact that you didn't do it puts a lot of stress on the others. And then the fact that none of the guys on your bench had an opportunity to get in the game and make an impact, it didn't create a flow on the offensive side of the ball when other people could contribute. And when you put so much onus on LeBron and Luka to score the basketball, and then on top of that to log heavy minutes, it's going to get to the point where you get nothing out of them, which is what we saw from LeBron in the fourth offensively.
So the other side of it in terms of coaching would be obviously what happened late in terms of the Wolves down a point, right? Going to that review and thus realizing it was a foul on LeBron James. And because I thought initially they were reviewing who the ball was out on.
I did too. Which is an interesting thing. I was thinking about the NFL with that. I'm like, because you have to ask specifically what to review. And I guess Chris Finch, the coach of the Wolves, asked specifically to review the foul or the non-foul, right? Well, Anthony Edwards said post-game that he said he was asking for a review on the foul, not on the possession and who it was out of.
Which was, I mean, that was
in real time. I'm wondering, okay, did that ball hit Ant-Man's foot on the way out?
And it didn't.
Bounds? And it didn't look like it did, but, you know, Richard Jefferson was making the case that it did hit Ant-Man's foot based on the trajectory of the ball, not to get too far in the weeds, but that was happening in real time. All of us looking at it,
we're thinking they were reviewing something else.
They were reviewing whether or not it was out on Ant, where Anthony Edwards was saying, no, I want to review the foul on LeBron James.
Which was, I mean, huge in that moment.
That was a huge call.
Because then it gives them the ball back, and obviously they win the game.
Those were the two biggest plays down the stretch, right? Yeah. The Jaden McDaniels three-point play, I mean, that was an awesome assist. I think it was by Julius Randle. That was a great play by him. And then you saw the out-of-bounds play with Anthony Edwards and LeBron James. Those, to me, were the biggest plays down the stretch in that game.
The NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio. Catch postseason action on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, presented by Indeed. So that brings us to the larger question. CC, at one point you said, I'd be surprised if anyone not named the Lakers got to the NBA Finals out of the Western Conference. So did we fool ourselves? Because all of us thought the Lakers could make a run with LeBron and Luka. Did we fool ourselves into thinking the Lakers were title contenders, or is this just a bad matchup for them?
Yes.
Because to be clear, you could be a title contender, have the wrong first-round team, and we could play out a hypothetical, which we would never be able to prove, of, well, the Lakers could have gotten to the finals if they had another team in the first round.
Fair, but who did I say was the most dangerous player this postseason in the NBA playoffs?
Ant-Man.
Ant.
Exactly.
Well,
he's the most dangerous player. There were zero expectations for the Minnesota Timberwolves coming into this series. They were just trying to fight to keep out of the play-in. So all the pressure was on the Lakers coming into this series. Remember, Ant-Man